Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, a prophetic broadcast this evening. In fact, it'll be very insightful. Some of the things we're about to share with you, no doubt, will rattle your cage to hear the things we're going to talk about tonight. Do keep in mind, Israeli News Live is going on national television in the United States in about 1 week from now. We will be announcing more of those details as we near that time. We just want to get you ready for that and let you know that if you would like to be a part of supporting that endeavor, as well as the broadcasts here that air every single day here on YouTube, definitely help support that work. If you're watching this on Israeli News Live, and by the way, do check the YouTube channel you're on. We do have friends that do dub this video and then they put it on their channel. So definitely check, look at your channel now, see if you're on Israeli News Live. If you are, there is a donate button there just above the subscribe button. And you can actually click on that and help support the work that we're doing here. Or you can visit IsraeliNewsLive.org. If you're not on our channel, go to IsraeliNewsLive.org. And look right there, you'll see a donate button there, or you can also mail your donation to the Czech Republic in Prague here at P.O. Box 46, 15006, Praha 56, Czech Republic. We'll put that at the end of the screen here for you. We thank you for helping us to make this possible, and especially getting the message out in the United States to the people there. We really want to try to make a difference across the United States, bringing a balance to the news that is coming out in the U.S. So much negativity in the world today. We're wanting to try to bring a balance there. Let's get right into this broadcast this evening, starting with RT News. Germany sees potential in Jordan base to replace Turkey's Incirlik defense minister. Stated this. Germany's defense minister stated that. You're looking at a picture on your screen, and behind you there, that is the Jordanian air base there with Jordanian F-16 fighter planes, or F-4s. I'm not sure exactly what type that is. But anyway, the German defense minister has said that she visited a Jordanian air base, which is viewed as a possible alternative to replace Turkey's Incirlik, and it showed a lot of potential, she noted. This was after Germany got stopped by the Turkish government when they were trying to go to inspect the base there, their troops there at the Incirlik air base inside of Turkey. Now, if you remember, we reported on Israeli News Live a little while back an inside source that we had that actually worked with the very man accusing, that Turkey accused of masterminding the plot to overthrow the government there. And as he stated to us, that this was something that Turkey was being used by NATO to do its dirty work. And that Turkey had agreed to do the dirty work in order to have a better position in the New World Order. So every time we see different things happening with Turkey, like the coup, which we believed was a staged coup from the beginning, and now the moving of a military such as the German military to the Jordanian air base there, these things may only be played out as part of that staged coup. This justifies getting German military down into Jordanian airfields there in order to get ready for an attack on Damascus. There is no other excuse why they would move other than that. And yet Turkey always willing to play the bad guy to look good. But nonetheless, Turkey may end up finding themselves at the tip of the spear, so to speak, though, when this all falls down at the final end there. And yet they've played the good guy to be, or played the bad guy for NATO. They may find themselves also at the end of NATO's spear eventually and actually be taken completely out. Something we can't rule out completely, especially when we begin to look at biblical prophecy. Also, one other thing before I share with you the biblical prophecy, after President Trump has signed this deal for billions of dollars in military contracts with Saudi Arabia, up to I think $350 billion. Now Sputnik is speaking about how the Saudi-led Arab NATO will destabilize the Middle East and unleash a massive war in the region. That's something that the Russians are very concerned about with this new deal, this newfound friendship that President Trump has with the Saudi king. And it's very obvious to the Russian leaders there as they have watched how he was received like no other president in history with such pomp and gaiety there very interesting to see how that's going. So now what do we do when we want to really get a good look at what's going on here? Let's take for just a moment and take a look at biblical prophecy. And then I've got another news I want to share with you about German forces already crossing, Finnish forces already crossing inside of Syria from Iraq. It's going to blow you away right there. Let's first take a look over here at Daniel chapter 11, verse 40. And at that time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow as he passes through. Notice, it's countries plural. And the United States, under NATO command, has moved in all the way starting with Iraq, took Iraq out, Afghanistan, went into Kuwait, liberated Kuwait, took down, as I said, took down the Iraqi government as well. They've gone in there, they've taken out Egypt, they've taken out Libya, they've destabilized the entire Middle Eastern region. Now that was just the first blow, as it were, right? That's just the first blow. He shall enter also into the beauteous land, according to verse 41. Let me get back in here. And many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall be delivered out of his hand, Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. Well, Edom happens to be the Roman fortress there in Italy, and of course Moab and the chief of Ammon are the Jordanians and Palestinians. Isn't it interesting when you did the news broadcast yesterday about Trump, when they showed on their Middle Eastern tour and going into Rome, then they put the map of Israel up and the Golan's cut off. The West Bank is taken out there. It's no longer a part of Israel. Golan's not a part of Israel. Half of Jerusalem is gone for Israel. Well, you got the picture, don't you? It's not what Trump says, it's what the Pope says is what's going to be. And that's exactly where we see this. So Edom is delivered out of his hand. Moab is delivered out of his hand. That's your Palestinians. And the chief of the children of Ammon, the Jordanians. No wonder why then the Germans are actually looking to use the Jordanian airbase. It's not just to throw everybody off to be able to bring their military down there, but it's also because Jordan will be spared this particular onslaught of what's happening in the Middle East, as well as the Palestinians. Clearly, it's biblical prophecy that that's the way it's going to be. All right, now, but that's not all. Let me give you one other one. According to the Iranian news, Amman, Norwegian army enters southern Syria to endanger rebels at a border crossing. That's exactly what's going on there. Damascus, Syria, 17:35 p.m. on Saturday. Iraqi military commander Shakir Abid said a unit of Norwegian special forces had been allowed to enter Syria through the Al-Walid border crossing in western Anbar. The Norwegian unit arrived in Al-Tanaf region on the Syrian side of the border, home to the U.S.-backed Free Syrian Army that have become the target of an ongoing offensive by the Syrian Arab Army along the Damascus-Baghdad highway. The Iraqi Army, Iraqi border guards, and the Iraqi Federal Police notably provided the Norwegian contingent safe passage to the link-up with the U.S. and British forces already deployed inside eastern homes, despite vocal objections by the government in Damascus. So now we see that the coalition has definitely gone inside of Syria, and it is obvious that they will work together to take down President Bashar al-Assad. It just seems to be no way out of it. Now, to kind of give you a little bird's eye view of exactly what this location is here, as you can see here on your map in behind here, this is, of course, we've got Syria here. We've got Jordan here, all the way up into this region here, but this highway right here, this is the highway inside of Iraq, right next to the Jordanian border. This is where they're coming in at. And of course, as you can see, follow the highway right straight to Damascus. There's already the U.S. and British forces here in the south, dead beeline to Damascus. We know that the General Dunbar was meeting with the Israeli generals there. I believe that they're going to make a strike on Damascus from the southwest in there. And of course, the U.S. generals were meeting with the Lebanese president, and they brought in U.S. forces here into Lebanon to take it from the west. It is definitely very soon to actually take it out. Now, to show you the very place that the article is mentioning here, let me zoom right on down here to the very border guard crossing itself. Once we click on this guard right here, it's the Al-Walid border crossing, exactly what they said there. And that's exactly where they crossed into, right there at that point there. According to the Amman news source there, it's actually being reported in Syrian news as well that this has already happened. Now, let's jump back to the biblical prophecy so we can see what's really going to happen. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, verse 42. And the land of Egypt shall not escape, but he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver and over all precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But there's so much we could say about that. Besides the monetary system, I believe there's a much deeper meaning about having power over the gold and silver and all the precious things of Egypt. Remember, this is what Hitler was after years ago, that technology that was hidden down there in Egypt. That's what they were after. Well, now this particular king of the north has control over that. But then watch what happens. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall affrighten him, and he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to take away many. What is that? Out of the east and out of the north. Remember what's going on in North Korea right now. The tensions that are there. And now we see that both Russia and China first, moving in nuclear warheads back in January, moved the Dongfeng 41. This got a tip of 10 nuclear warheads per missile ICBM, moved them over there. Russia said it's not a threat to them. They said the missile has to go so high it couldn't come down and hit anything they got anyway. They're not worried about it. And it's not and of course, North Korea is not a threat to Russia or China. Now we know that that's a fact when it comes to Russia, because Russia has now opened up economic ties with North Korea and set up a ferry to bring in tourism. Intentionally, it's slapping the United States right in the face, saying we don't care what you have to say. I mean, we're getting ready. This is about to unleash on the battlefields. And now President Trump has made this $350 billion deal with the Saudis there for weapons deal. Sure, it'll create more jobs. I wouldn't want a job, though, that has to go out and kill all of our friends and neighbors. I mean, and guys, understand me. I know there's some bad people out there in this land. I know that. I realize that. I know there's eyes. I know there's people that kill your whole family and murder everybody that you got. I realize that. Do you think the Saudis are much better? I mean, they put to death people. They cut the hands off of people. They take women and beat them half to death. And we know all the different stories of the human rights abuses and stuff. Women that are beaten and everything because, for what? For nothing. They had no business for a man to be beating a woman. It just shows he's not even a man to begin with. I mean, it's deplorable. And they behead people for nothing. All these abuses, not to mention what's going on in Yemen. It's like Russia said, if this comes up, it's going to be an all-out war. They're going to destabilize the entire region. Well, that's what the Bible says they're going to do. Except only this time here, it actually shows you the timeline. When they got nervous about North Korea, because why? The East and the North, tidings out of the East and the North, they come there to defend North Korea. And I don't say Kim Jong-un's a good guy. The guy's got nuclear weapons and he's threatening everybody all around him. Sure he is. So it's not that he's a good guy, but the point is look what's going to happen. Look what the prophecy says here in Daniel's prophecy here. They're going to make away many. Who? The king of the north. Not the ones in the east and the north. Where are they going to start at? Looks like they're going to go right back to the Middle East and finish up over there and then work their way maybe back to North Korea. Maybe they're going to do it all at one time. I have no idea. No idea. But it's coming down to it, friends. It's coming down to it. And a lot of people will die. I had one friend of mine wrote me a letter and he said, Steve, I really believe that they're using this thing with Damascus to get the Israeli military involved, to bring the Israeli military out there in the open and allow the Israeli military to be hammered really hard, whether it be by Russia or whoever it may be. for allowing them to come out there. And he said, I believe that they're going to do that to weaken Israel in order to force Israel to accept whatever agreement that they have with the Palestinians. That's a pretty good observation, I have to say. A friend of mine that sent that to me in an email, I think that is a good observation. In fact, if anything else, one thing I would add to that, and that is Rome has always wanted to make sure biblical prophecy matches what their theology says it is. And in their theology, it is Russia that is the king of the north, according to Daniel's prophecy, which doesn't line up with the word of God, because if Russia is the king of the north, and now scholars are saying these tidings out of the east and out of the north happens to be China and Russia, well then how can that be, then Russia be the king of the north then? Because the tidings out of the east and the north are troubling the king of the north. See, it makes no sense. And they want to say it's Gog and Magog. Russia's Gog and Magog. It's Russia and China. Maybe it has more to do with a Roman authority, a Roman power. Do you know biblically, throughout biblical history, Rome, or Roman Greco power was always believed by the different religious leaders of those days in the ancient world to be the king of the north. Why do we change it then? We ought to think about that, shouldn't we? Let's move on to a couple other quick news briefs here, and then we'll finish out with this. American Civil War 2.0, a bitter hybrid conflict with no end in sight. Sputnik News is kind of capitalizing, looking at what's going on in the United States right now with the Democrats crumbling to the ground and President Trump slowly but surely defeating all of his enemies around him and his foes. And as a result of that, one particular Russian political commentator, Dmitry Korsyev, writes for RIA Novosti. He states this: Democrats are doing wild, suicidal things because they are not just on the defensive, but on the verge of collapse. As the Trump administration breaking down their evil empire, their goal is not the destruction of Russia, but the salvation of their own project. Kosyrev pointed out, referring to the ongoing scandal over the alleged Russian interference in the U.S. 2016 presidential election. Anyway, he goes on to say they are using anti-Russian slogans to destabilize the internal political situation in the United States, but they do not realize that they are harming their own country. If this is the case, then they are quite simply stupid, he writes. If they do not understand what they are doing, then they are dangerously unscrupulous people, Putin told journalists following Russian-Italian talks Wednesday. I apologize, I did not realize that was President Putin's comment there, because he says Korsyev quoted Russian President Vladimir Putin, who called attention to the fact that the growing political schizophrenia in the United States threatens to upset the balance in the country. And he is exactly right about that. And in fact, that's exactly what's going on in Venezuela. Has been a major upheaval of violence and civil unrest and everything because of why a crumbling economy. You cannot help but wonder whose hand has been in the cookie jar there to destabilize that nation to begin with. I could only imagine where that could be traced back to. Well, anyway, Telstar put out an article here that I thought was very interesting about Russia has made a deal with the Venezuelan president to ship wheat in there and to also establish several manufacturing companies inside of Venezuela to manufacture. Actually, let's read what they'll be doing there. We are ready. All trade agreements have already been signed, and very soon Russia will supply Venezuela with 60,000 tons of wheat per month on a stable basis starting from this year, Maduro said. According to the state news agency AVN, the major deal to provide raw materials for the country's bakeries will grant an important line of support of the South American country. According to the Russian state bodies, Venezuela relies on imports of grain and has been buying large amounts of genetically modified or GMO wheat from its geopolitical adversary, the United States. Like Russia, Venezuela has banned GMO crops. God bless Russia, had no idea they banned GMO crops. No wonder why the United States has destabilized Venezuela. They banned GMO crops. In exchange for the imports, 5 new companies will be established in Venezuela for the manufacture of Russian industrial vehicles. God bless Venezuela. I had no idea they banned GMO. And this is why, no doubt, the U.S. has had their hand down there to destabilize this nation. Anywhere you go to throw out GMO, Rothschild banks, etc., you can count on a destabilization program to be on your doorsteps. Well, you know, it's funny how that Russia continues to build alliances with those nations that have rejected the New World Order type system of GMO and hybrid this, hybrid that. Amazing, amazing. I had no idea that, guys. It kind of caught me by surprise. I had not read the full article there. And so that was very, very interesting to see this as part of the article right here. Anyway, I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Definitely don't forget to support this work that we're doing here. We thank you for it. And God bless you. Shalom.